One insanely difficult endurance event, 1 year of training. Here's why I'm pushing my limits to take on an Ironman in 2025. Right, let's do it. Hi, I'm Tim Allen and I want to share the story behind this journey. Whether you're a runner, a triathlete or just looking for inspiration, this is for you. This is the first video in a new series I've dubbed Project Ironman, where I'll be documenting the build up to my first Ironman later this year. I'll talk to you about how I started, why I'm doing this and what I hope to achieve over the next 10 months. It's a question I ask myself all the time, but in 2024 I set myself 3 goals. Run a sub 4-hour marathon, run a 20-minute or sub 20-minute 5k and finish my first ultra. For those that haven't seen my social media before, you'll know that I was able to tick each of these goals off last year, which I didn't think I would be able to, but I did, and it was something that I was really proud of. But that got me thinking, what's next? What is the next challenge I can do? I wanted to challenge myself to something that would push me even further, not just physically, but mentally as well. That's when I started floating the idea of an Ironman with my coach. For those that don't know, an Ironman is arguably the ultimate endurance test. It's a 2.4 mile swim, a 112 mile bike ride, and then a 26.2 mile run or a marathon, all in one day. It's the kind of event that demands everything you've got and then some. In all honesty, it terrifies me, but it also really excites me because it's something that sounds insane but would be amazing to do. The decision to train for this is quite a personal one for me. Firstly, it's a chance to get back on my bike, which is a sport I've loved dearly for a huge part of my life when I was at uni and college. It's also a chance to combine that with something new, swimming, which is a sport I've not done before, and then running, which is something I've become completely obsessed with over the last year. So all 3 combined feels like the ultimate recipe for a challenge. I've always loved sport. When I was younger, I competed at a decent level on my bike, and I've always just loved that buzz of a race day and a big event. When I finished uni, life sort of took me in a different direction. I stopped riding and racing on my bike. I spent a year travelling the world in America and New Zealand, and then I came home and started working in the corporate world, so just didn't have time. I stopped taking care of myself physically, and over time I began to feel it. I put on a lot of weight, and my fitness was at the worst it had been for a long time. In late 2023, I decided to make a change. I was unhappy with how I looked. I just hit 95 kilos on the scales for the first time, which wasn't a milestone I was proud of. And then to add to that, in November 2023, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, which changed everything. It came out of the blue, and it was something that I never thought would affect my family. It's something you hear about, but I just thought it wouldn't be something that came into our life. It was a diagnosis that made me realise how precious life is and how much we take it for granted. That's when I had this sort of crazy idea. I thought, why not run a marathon and do it for charity? I'd never been a runner before, I was never very good at it, but it was something about that just felt like a really good idea. It gave me a reason to focus on my health and do something that would make my family and my dad proud. Running a marathon was a goal I've always said that I want to do once and once in my lifetime, but I've always found an excuse why I couldn't do it at the time. However, that changed last year, and by the end of 2024, I couldn't believe how much I'd achieved. I ran my first marathon in London last spring, and it was one of the best days of my life. Crossing that finish line was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. The emotion, the pride, it was just unbelievable. Since then, I've done another marathon. I've taken over 28 minutes off my PB, and then I even ran a 100k ultra in the summer last year. Along the way, I also raised over £3,500 to help fight cancer, which is the reason I started in the first place. So it's come the full circle, and now I'm ready for that next challenge. I should probably tell you which Ironman I'm doing. So I've signed up for Ironman Barcelona. The big day itself is the 5th of October 2025, which means I've got less than 10 months left now to prepare for what's going to be the biggest endurance challenge of my life. To get ready for this is going to take some serious commitment. There's going to be early starts, late nights, and just a lot of stress. I'm fitting this in around my full-time job, so it's going to be a big challenge. My training program will be intense, but it'll be structured. I'm working closely with my coach, who's also a close friend of mine, to build a training program that builds up progressively as we get closer to the event. I've already started the training. The plan to do an Ironman was something that I agreed back in November with my coach. So we've been laying the foundations over the past couple of months to start building on it into the new year. I'll be committing to training and doing 6 sessions a week, gradually building up to around 15 hours of training every week as we get closer. Each week will be a mix of swimming, cycling and running, as well as strength work and stretching sessions, with a focus on improving my endurance, but also trying to avoid injury and just stay fit and healthy. One of my biggest priorities is going to be building my endurance for the longer efforts, for those long hours on my feet on the bike, and being able to link up the different sports all in one day, whether it's a 5-hour bike ride or a long run all in the same day, or some other crazy session my coach comes up with. I need to teach my body how to keep going for what will probably be 11 or more hours of effort on the day. And then when I'm not training, we need to plan my nutrition and get that dialed in ready for the day. From my training sessions and keeping fueled, and the race day, but also recovery to make sure I can keep going between sessions. I need to help my body recover as quickly as possible, and to do that I'm going to need to get my food right. I'm lucky to have the support of my fiancée Jess, who's going to play a huge part in this, but the next 10 months is going to be a big challenge. It's a case of getting my head down, working hard to tick off those training sessions, come rain or shine, and just be in the best shape I can for October 5th next year. So that's it for this video, a little introduction into myself and what's going to be the biggest sporting challenge of my life. Over the next 10 months I'll be documenting my training, I'll be sharing some tips and giving you a behind the scenes look at what it takes to prepare for an Ironman. I'll also be taking you on some of the build up races I do along the way, so thank you for watching.